Hi guys, Shemo Polot here, welcome back to the channel. This week I'm bringing you into my life to show you what I would do if I was trying to create a report. And so right now I'm working on something related to accidents, and I had to get a bunch of data from Mulago Hospital, and I wanted to show you how I would clean the data and present it. But I'm just going to show you the cleaning part of it right now, because otherwise this video will be like an hour long. Okay, but so things you learn from this video: data cleaning, preparation, creating a report, automating your report in Power Query so that you never have to really ever do it again. It's really cool. You can automate your reports and never have to do them again. Pretty cool. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so this is the data that was sent to me. It's only data from Jan of 2021 to Jan 2022, as you can see there. Okay, and it has a bunch of accident cases in the casualty ward at Mulago National Referral Hospital. And as you can see here, the different injuries are categorized based on age, but also based on the motor vehicle. So either it's a bicycle, or it's a motorcycle, or it's a motor vehicle, or it's a non-vehicle related accident, trauma. But yeah, so I want to organize this data such that I can analyze it better. The first thing I want to do is I want to make these months appear in the columns. I want to make them the column headers. So the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything fancy is take this column out, because I don't need it, because it's just casualty surgical repeated. So I'm just going to click that, right click, and delete it. Okay, there we go. Next thing I'm going to do is click here, do Control A to select all the data. Then I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to come down here and right click, and I'm going to paste and transpose so that, let me move this here all the way to the end. There we go. So that the months, like I said, are now the column headers. Okay, and now down here we have the vehicle accidents, vehicle types. Okay, so I'm going to now delete this one away from here, and then I'm going to Control A and then move this to the top. Okay, so now the data is relatively good enough for me to work on. So what I'm going to do is Control S to save it, and then now I'm going to clean it. So to clean it, I'm going to use what we call Power Query. I could clean it in Excel, but Power Query could do this a lot faster, and I'm going to show you why. So to use Power Query, the first thing I'm going to do is open a new Excel window. So I do Control N to open a new Excel window, and then I go to Data up here, and I go to Get Data, and then from File and from Excel Workbook. There we go. And so what I want is that workbook. I click Import, and then this Power Query window is going to open up really quickly. There we go. So first there's a preview, so I click Sheet 1, and it gives me a preview of the data. And as you can see, it has what I want. So if you click Load, then it will just load this data directly into the Excel sheet, which is not what I want. I want to load it into the Excel sheet after I've cleaned it up, removed a bunch of stuff that I want, and remain with only the stuff I actually need. Okay? So I click Transform Data instead. And so this Power Query window opens up. There we go. Looks a bit intimidating, but is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is, as you can see here, we have headers that are column 1, column 2, but I really want this row 1. I want row 1 to be the headers. Okay, so first thing I do is I click there and I right click and I say use first row as headers. So those get promoted up there, as you can see. The next thing that I want to do is check and see how much data has come in. So as you can see, I have a bunch of columns here that I don't need. So I just click that, hold Shift, and the right arrow, and just do that until we go to the end. And then I'm just going to click Remove Columns. I remove columns. There we go. Now we should have the 1st of January 2022 as our last column. There we go. All right, so we're going to now really get into the cleaning. So first of all, I want to name the sheet. The sheet name is here. but also here. Control A, I'm just going to call this RTI and press enter. RTI stands for road traffic incident. That's a terminology that we use. And so the next thing I'm going to do is there are these null values which are zeros. Null values are a very tricky thing in data management because you have to actually decide how you're going to treat them. However, in this case, I'm just going to treat them as zeros. I'm going to say that where there's a null value, they're actually zero, okay? So what I'm going to do is select all the data set using Control A, and then I go to transform and replace values. There we go, and now I'm just going to say wherever there's null, replace it with 0. I click OK, and now as you can see, all the null values that I had have now been replaced with zeros. I'm not going to check everywhere. I'm fairly confident that it has happened. Okay, the next thing that I want to do now is create a column of gender. As you can see, this first column here has a unique ID. They use a unique ID to determine the motor vehicle type, the vehicle type, and then it has cases, and it has years, and it has gender. I want to create a table, a separate column for gender, a separate column for year, age range, a separate column for cases versus deaths, and a separate column for the vehicle. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to do an action 3 times. So I select the column, and then I right click, and I go to split column, split by delimiter. First one, I'm going to start with a comma, and it's going to be the rightmost comma, even though in this case it doesn't really matter because there's only 1 comma, as you can see here. I click OK, and as you can see, a whole column has been created with just the genders. Because we're not sure of where the comma was removed and whether there was a space after the word male or female, I just want to trim and trim. The reason why it's important to remove space, and as you can see, it just moves to the end a bit. The reason why it's important to remove spaces is because sometimes in Excel, especially if you're dealing with numbers, spaces can create problems when you're trying to perform calculations. So trimming is always recommended to do. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this action again, but for age range. So I'm going to split column by delimiter. And now again, this time you see that the delimiter that's consistent here is this outward facing bracket or parentheses. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to, again, it doesn't matter because it's the only one there. I'm going to click OK. And once again, we have age ranges. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to trim them. Another thing that I want to do is replace values. I want to remove years, YRS. So I'm going to do replace values, and I'm going to do YRS, and wherever that is, I'm going to replace it with nothing. I click OK, and those YRSs have gone, so now we just have ranges. Oh, as we can see here, I made a mistake. For some reason, I have cases inside the age range, which I do not want. So what I'm going to do, when you make a mistake, you can just remove by coming down here and just undoing what you did. So I'm just going to remove these last few steps. It's really this step. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to take it back here. So I assume that all of them were just cases, but down here there are a bunch of other incidences where there is more than one of these brackets or parentheses. So I can't do what I did before. What I have to do is do split column again and by delimiter. And this time, however, so I have to do the years again. So it's that. And then it's the rightmost. Okay, I click OK. And make sure it's okay. Yeah, so as you can see now, they're all years. Then I already did this, so I'm just going to do it really quickly. So don't focus too much on that. I'm just going to replace values. YRS, replace it with nothing. There we go. I am going to trim it by going to transform and trim. Okay, then we have to do cases. So I go to split column by delimiter. And what I want to do is this, and I want to get the leftmost. I click OK. And now we have a column of cases. Now, as you can see here, we have these in here, and I can deal with those, but I want you to ignore that right now because my focus right now isn't those non-vehicle accidents, okay? And I'm going to explain why. Again, otherwise this video will be too long. The next thing that I want to do is get the vehicle types. So I'm going to split column again by delimiter, and this time what I want to use is a period, because as you can see, after the dot then comes the vehicle type. Okay, so I'm going to use a period. I'm going to use the rightmost period because it's the rightmost there, and then I click OK. Now we have vehicle types, and also these injuries come through. Okay, now again, I'm just going to trim that. Now again, like I said, don't worry too much about these injuries because I'm going to filter them out because I don't need them for my analysis. Okay, so this column also, now that I've done everything, I can delete it. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to filter out these. I only want the vehicle injuries. So I'm going to remove everything else and just leave the motorcycle, motor vehicle, and bicycles, okay? Click OK. All right, and so now as you can see, my data is there. You go, okay. I'm going to just trim this. I can't remember if I trimmed this. So I'm going to trim that. Okay, it seems like I did. Okay, I'm going to change these titles. So this I'm going to call vehicle type, and this I'm going to call mortality, and this I'll call age range, and this I will call gender. Okay, and then so the rest are just months. Okay, so yeah, now the data is pretty much ready for me to load. It looks pretty good. So now after I'm done with this, all I have to do is go to home and click close and load. And now what Excel will do is it is going to put it inside this sheet that I created. And there we have it. And it exports it into this sheet in a special Excel table format. Okay, so everything comes out looking nice. And so now to create the report, all I have to do is, because I have a bunch of unsummarized data, which is several motor vehicles, several motorcycles, several bicycles. So this is a perfect candidate for a pivot table. I've talked about pivot tables before, so if you don't know anything about them, then watch this video. But also I'll make another video to make it look a bit more understandable for you. But yeah, so now all I have to do is use a shortcut to create my pivot table, which is Alt-N-V, as you can see, and then T, and this new worksheet. So I click OK. All right, so now what I want here is I'm going to do gender, I'm going to do mortality, I'm going to do vehicle type, I'm going to do age range, and then I'm going to check all these dates, just like that. I'm doing it like this versus dragging and dropping them into the boxes on the right because I know exactly what it's going to look like. Again, this isn't the crash course on pivot tables. I'm just doing this so it's quick enough so you can see what happens. But yeah, and there you have it. I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so you can see. This might be a bit too small. But as you can see, this is my summary table. I don't know how long this has been, but yeah, we have created this report. And as you can see, so the cases are categorized by gender first, then by cases, then by motor vehicle types, and then by age ranges, and then the totals are here. And there we have it. So now from this, I can make charts and I can do a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so how can I automate this? So if, for example, if I go back to this original sheet, if by any chance I add information here, if I add another line of data here, right, all I would have to do is save it. We'll do the data entry, save it, and then come into this. Remember at the beginning, I went to get the data from here. And when I did that, I found this workbook. And so what I did was I connected that workbook, okay? I connected that workbook to this new workbook, okay? So what that means is once I change what happens in that original sheet, all I have to do is come here and right click and hit refresh. And once I refresh, this pivot table that I created will update automatically as well. And if I had created any charts that were connected to this pivot table, those would automate it automatically. So if you have to create some sort of accident report on a monthly basis and you have the data coming into one specific table, then you wouldn't have to do this again every time. And that's the beauty of Power Query. Once you've done this once, all you have to do is refresh and you don't have to worry about your reports ever again. But yeah, we're going to stop here for today because this video is already entirely too long. But yeah, that's a crash course on using Power Query to automate reports and to create something really fancy in a really short time. Short, relatively, but in my opinion. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Look out for the report. It will be coming out soon. It's really like an article, such a blog article. I'll probably post it via my blog. But otherwise, Shemo Polot here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you want to know anything about these concepts a bit more, then I can make a video on them. Otherwise, have a good week and see you in the next video.